Hey fellow babies, welcome back to Pachter Factor on SIFTD.net. If you are watching real time, that's because you're either a Patreon subscriber, and thank you very much for that, or you're a YouTube subscriber, thank you very much for that. If you're not doing either of those, then you're getting this content a week late, and that's because I insist that we make sure it's accessible to everybody. One thing you can do if you are a subscriber or you are not a subscriber, no matter what, please try to remember to link your Twitch Prime account to your Amazon Prime account. Amazon will pay us if you do that. The instructions are in the show description below. Easy to do. It costs you nothing. I promise. You're already paying for it, but that's kind of the lifeblood of this program. We can stay in business. Shane can afford to keep coming out here and filming these things if you guys remember to just link those two accounts. So please read the show description below. Read the instructions on how to link your Twitch Prime account to your Amazon Prime account. We've seen a drop off in those numbers that's not commensurate with our viewership. So if you're watching this, please just pause for a second, look at the show description and click, and that'll get Shane a little bit of extra juice to keep this show being produced.
This episode of Pachter Factor is brought to you by DeShazer Ryan Realty. Right now, Doug DeShazer has beautiful lots available adjacent to Koocanusa Lake in northwest Montana. Pull up your RV and access the hookups, or build your own construction. Either way, you have access to world-class fishing, hunting, boating, swimming, biking, hiking, and the internet. No matter where you're looking to buy, make Doug DeShazer your real estate consultant at 406-291-1643. That's Doug DeShazer at 406-291-1643.
From Patreon, from my good buddy Darth Irv, what do you think of the leaked Microsoft email chain where executives discuss acquiring Nintendo? Do you think it was under serious consideration? What kind of valuation do you give Nintendo? Could Microsoft really buy Nintendo? I believe the chain, and I used to do what was called business development for an oil company, and I did M&A, and our job was to be ready in case anybody in management or the board asked any question about any competitor. We had to be ready to say what they're worth. And so back when I was working for the oil company, Conoco bought Phillips, and Unocal bought somebody, I can't remember. Exxon bought Mobil, like all these companies merged. And so we had files on every single oil company. So I'm certain that Microsoft has files on every single console manufacturer and publisher. And if Phil Spencer one day idly asked a question, what do y'all think Take-Two is worth? There's a guy there who has an answer. And so, if Microsoft bought Activision, were they looking at other companies? Of course they were. They look at everything all the time. Does EA look at Take-Two and Ubisoft? Yes. Did EA look at Activision? Yes. If you remember, I know none of you really care, but when Unity merged with IronSource, AppLovin came out of nowhere and said, we want to buy Unity, to block that deal. They're all ready, all of them, all the time. So do I believe it was true? Yes. Do I think it was serious? Yes. What's Nintendo worth? I think we had a $65 billion valuation. They're worth more. To an acquirer, they're worth a lot more. Can you imagine? And I like Nintendo, and I've got a buy on Nintendo, and I think that Nintendo is doing a lot right, and I think that they're going to keep growing and generating higher profit. But can you imagine Nintendo if it was run by Disney? And I say that because Disney bought Marvel, and I remember when Disney bought Marvel, 2008, 8 or 9. Who would pay up for Marvel? They had comic books, which weren't a particularly profitable business, and they had made one Iron Man and one Thor movie. And the Spider-Man and X-Men movies were made by Sony because Marvel couldn't even figure that out. They couldn't do it themselves. Spider-Man and the X-Men universe, the rights are owned by Sony to produce those movies. They have to pay Marvel, but they own the exclusive rights. So I looked at Disney acquiring Marvel, and I'm like, what are they thinking? And yet, here we are. They went from one Marvel-produced film every 3 years to 3 or 4 a year. I mean, it's crazy. And the movies are bigger and bigger and bigger all the time. And the Marvel content really does resonate with people. Now, maybe we're tired of Ant-Man. Maybe we're tired of, Marvel Avengers or Captain Marvel. But I don't think so. I mean, there's some lesser characters that have shocked me. Black Widow was good, So I think that Nintendo is the same way. There never was a good Nintendo movie until the most recent one, and it killed it. What was the difference? I think everybody tried to do film, and they tried to cast, Bob Hoskins, look him up, as Super Mario, as Mario the Plumber, and it just was stupid and slapstick and not believable. But a cartoon that looked like the video game really worked, so who knows? I think in the hands of a Disney, instead of one Nintendo movie that worked in the history of Nintendo, you'd get 3 a year. And I think some of the characters, the Pikmin and Yoshi and, Wario and Mario Brothers, they could keep going and going. You could have a Mario Kart movie and it would be good. It's such a recognizable brand. How about Halloween costumes? Again, Nintendo does them. I mean, they really do. But I will bet you 90% of the Halloween costumes you see that are Mario inspired or Nintendo inspired are copyright infringement, not made by Nintendo. Disney would make sure. So I would be all over Nintendo being sold to somebody who could exploit the brand more effectively. I think the Nintendo management does a great job with games. I really do. But I think they're not doing as good a job with merchandising. And again, in fairness to the current management, they've started. You're seeing theme parks, they're doing a really good job. You saw the movie, they're doing a really good job. But my God, back when Microsoft was looking at it, no theme parks, no movies. So it would have been a great acquisition for somebody. I do think if Microsoft stepped in and bid, I think Disney would be the white knight and save them. But I don't think that's going to happen in our lifetimes because I don't think Nintendo's a seller, to be honest. So yes, I believe it. Could Microsoft buy them? Not now. They could have bought them probably under the Trump administration when the FTC was kind of asleep at the wheel. Not under the now. No, after Activision, no chance, no way. They'd be taking out the number one, and I just don't see that happening. So, no, won't happen. We like Nintendo. They should stay independent. But if Nintendo were sold, Disney would be a good company to sell to. If Microsoft were to buy Nintendo, you could bet that Game Pass would hit that 200 million subscriber number much faster. I've always wondered why Nintendo didn't just put all its games on Apple Arcade, and charge $5 a month. And I don't mean all their games. I mean, not Tears of the Kingdom, but all their Nintendo DS and Game Boy Advance games on Apple Arcade. Imagine if Apple Arcade or something like that, a $5 a month subscription, had, one new Nintendo game a month. And it wouldn't be I don't mean brand new. I mean Super Mario 3, Super Mario Brothers 3. If you could play one new game a month and they would stay in the catalog, so launch with 30 and every month there's one new game to play, you would never run out of stuff to play on your phone. Would you pay $5 a month for that? Yes. And even if the games were 10 and 20 years old, would you pay $5 a month for Ocarina of Time? Yes, you would. So to be honest, I mean, how many Tears of the Kingdom players played Ocarina of Time? 5%? 10? I don't know, not 50. I would say it's a stretch whether 50% of them played Breath of the Wild. So just saying that it's like to be able to play all the Zelda games ever. I didn't play Wind Waker. Like, I just wasn't interested. I didn't do it. Played Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, which were similar games. Yeah, so I think if Microsoft bought Nintendo, more people would have access to Nintendo content, and I think that's a good thing. because Game Pass would expand the market. And even if they didn't do it as part of Game Pass, doing it on cell phones, because again, with the King guys, you could probably figure that out. I think 3 billion people will be playing Mario games instead of a few 100 million, which it'd be awesome. So there's a lot more money to be had. And by the way, will Nintendo figure this out? Of course they will. Like, they're not stupid. They know that they have the opportunity to do that. They're just not in a rush. Again, appreciate your patronage if you're a Patreon patron. Thank you for contributing there. If you're a YouTube subscriber, thank you. And a special thanks to any of you who took my advice at the beginning of the episode and clicked through on the show description and linked your Amazon Prime account to your Twitch Prime account. Amazon pays SIFTD a couple of bucks a month for your putting that together, but you've got to renew it. So if you haven't done it in a while, please click through. Please. It's easy to do. I promise it costs you nothing. And Amazon, it costs them something, but they'll pass it on to somebody who's spending a lot of money on the website, like me. Thanks again for joining us. We'll see you next time.